Hi everyone, today I will be sharing with you the experience of the thermal results of this O11D Evo, as some of you have questioned me via email or in private message in Reddit, stating that how should I place the fans as in like to intake or to exhaust. With this said, I've done numerous of tests on all the fans in this case and I'll share it with you. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Lian Li for all the products and to Block Soda to have done the arrangement on the delivery. Thanks again to ensure with all your equipment like the O11D Evo, all the AL120V2, one set, complete set, and the Galahad 360. Now, I'll take you to the dashboard and to explain to you how I did the test. I'd like to emphasize this before I share with you how I conduct the test. This is being done here in Singapore, whereby we have a room temperature average of 29 degrees Celsius to 31 degrees Celsius throughout the year, and there are times whereby we do have cooling temperature like 27 to 29 degrees Celsius. That happens only when it's raining. As in Singapore here, we do not have 4 seasons like other countries. So take note on this. With this said, on my lower left, as you can see over here, these are all the system specs, or should I say the PC components that are fit into this O11D Evo to conduct the test. And as you can see here, right, there are style A to J. These are the indication of how I mount the fan. As you can see the arrow over here. See, this is actually exhaust. This is intake from the side. This is exhaust from the rear and intake from the bottom. So it will switch. See, let's say A to C. See the difference? This is intake from the top, exhaust from the side instead of intake. So for this, right, these are all the arrangements that I've actually done from A to J. Starting with the first A to J, right, I'll do horizontally. Then the next A to J, I'll do vertically. Now, this is very important. Please do not place your component and your fans this way. As you can see over here, I put not applicable. Now, if you are staying in a hot region country like myself, do not configure it this way. Alright, it's a no-no situation. Let me just explain to you. Initially, I was not using a 13700K Intel processor. I was using a AMD 7950X processor, which I did the configuration over here and conducted the test. Somehow, the first thing that I've done over here, right, it did run, but it throttled, and the thing will just hang and it doesn't boot. Next is when I conduct this, right, it's even worse. My system totally cannot boot up. End up, I have to send my whole system, the motherboard and the processor for RMA. So take note on this if you're in hot country. Reason being, right, as you can see the diagram over here, all is creating intake, cool air, but you're not expelling all the hot air inside. So hot air is trapped within the case itself. Plus, if you're placing a 4090 or 4080, right, it's gonna be like, a toast box. So never do this. Take note on this. I wouldn't want you to damage your processor, your PC components if you're staying in a hot country. With this said, right, as mentioned to you, from A to J, I will be conducting first horizontal tests, and these are all live feeds which you will witness. Now, how I did the test is pretty simple. I'll be using R23 from Cinebench. Let me just show you this over here. Okay, now you will be only seeing the last 10 minutes of the test itself, but on the actual run, right, what I've done is actually done 2 times 20 minutes. 2 times 10 minutes, then followed by the actual recording on the 10 minutes itself. As you can see over here, right. Okay, if I were to run this, see? Now, if you see there's a blank over here, this is whereby the 10 minutes have stopped and I start another sequence. So the first 20 minutes you will not be seeing it. You will be only seeing the last 10 minutes. Reason for this, right, I want all the components to, really heat up and to have this fan start working to give you a true results. With this said, right, take note on the legends over here. Now, as mentioned to you, all the star will be listed over here. You can see the fan location and the graphic card. See, this is a vertical condition, and this is horizontal condition. So again, A to J, you will see all this. Take note on all the temperature over here. I'll be listing out not only the CPU temperature and the GPU temperature, I'll list out everything so to do a good comparison and to let you understand more on how the thermal cooling result in a O11D Evo. Now, things to take note on the core usage when it's running, right? Make sure it's actually the usage is 100%. Then the power drawn. Now, for the power drawn, I'll explain to you later. These are the AIO pump, which you will see on all the style itself when I conduct the run. It will be consistent at 3K plus. And all the fans, right, I'm talking about the case fan and the liquid AIO or the radiator fans, they are running at max speed at 2K, which is around 1900 and above. And also take note on the power drawn itself. Okay, I've limited the power drawn to be 220. That's why most of the time you'll be seeing that it will be drawing at 220. And the clock frequency for the CPU, right, it will only hover around 4.8 gigahertz or 4.9 gigahertz. Now, speaking of which, right, what I've actually done on this PC itself, as you can see, this is the UEFI. What I've done is only two things. At the AI Twinkle itself, if I were to scroll down, scroll up. I've done the XMP profile on my RAMs, which is running on this frequency, the DDR5 6000 clock frequency. Then next thing I did, as I mentioned to you, I've done the internal CPU power management, which I limited to the package drawn 220. Reason I do this, right, if I do not do this and let it run on auto, right, it will drive this processor at more than 253 watt, which is very high, and consistently the temperature will be at 95, 96, and so it will not drop. So to let you see the difference, potential difference, I'm limited to 220. Back to the methodology diagram. As mentioned to you, I'll be conducting style A to J with all the fan allocation, starting off with horizontal mounting of the GPU itself. Then I will explain to you the results and the conclusion of which is the best fan allocation for horizontal GPU mounting. Then followed by the vertical mount. Again, same thing, A to J style. Once that's done, I will share with you the results and to conclude. Now, let's begin with the first test, which is the horizontal mount from A to J. The results are out. Let me orientate you the legend. Starting off with the style from A to J, as you can see, it's listed all over here. So you can take it as a cross-reference. For example, let's say you want to know the temperature of each individual component listed over here. Let's say style A, right? You can see what are the fan configuration over here. Now, for CPU, Mambo, or should I say motherboard, VRAM, the DDR5s, the M.2, and the GPU and the GPU memory, these are all individual set. And all this temperature readings are in degrees Celsius. And how do I pick the degrees Celsius? Just to show you. As you watch the video itself, right, it's very fast forwarded. So what I've actually done is take example on this. Okay, let me just pull this all down. So what I did was taking the last 2 minutes, okay, Let me just pull to the last 2 minutes, because it's been running for 8 minutes, and before that it has run 20 minutes, so it's pretty stable to take the readings. So what I did is, when I took down a reading, right, I'll take a look at how much time, you know, not in fast pace, how much time did it touch 86 degrees Celsius or 85 degrees Celsius. So from that count, right, that would derive my final decision on the temperature itself for each component that you see over here. So let me just bring you back to the chart. With this say, right, all individual temperature reading is done that way, so that it's fair and square. Now, you can derive your own way of how it's being configured in your system. But for me, right, what you can see here, like for example, CPU, I have compared with the rest of the style, which gives me the lower temperature, and I highlighted it in white, or should I say the wording in white highlighted in black. Same goes to the motherboard, the VRAM, the DDR5, the M.2, the GPU, and the GPU memory. So with this say, right, all these figures, right, I count the black box under each style. So for example, I know that I'll be selecting A and H. Reason being, right, for A there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As compared to the rest, you don't even have 5 listed on each style. And for H, there are a total of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So to me, the best results will be A or H. Now, again, this is my opinion. Having said this, right, selecting A and H, I will explain to you why. If you are staying in a hot country, I would advise you to configure A. And if you are staying in a cooler country, right, you have winter and such, you can configure at H. Because one thing bonus about this, now this is not a joke, free heat, or should I say heater, if you are placing your case near you and have the configuration style H, right, the heat dissipation at the bottom is below, so there are heat, so it keep you warm. Why not? Now, looking at the temperature over here, right, you might say that H does a better job compared to style A. Reason being, right, there is a blockage on your GPU, which is horizontal mounted, whereby the heat, as you can see over here, right, is dissipating from the bottom. So minimum hot air will go to the top, whereby the top area, right, as you can see that the VRM, the RAMs, or should I say DDR5 and the M.2, right, they are doing better compared to A. Reason being, as mentioned, there's a blockage of your GPU, and the dissipation of hot air is at the bottom. No hot air is going up, or should I say minimal, whereby your top, right, the main focus is actually your rear fan, whereby it channels all the cool air near to your motherboard area, which is your processor, your M.2, your RAMs, and the VRMs. Then for your RAM, right, it's actually based on the exhaustion of the side fan and also the top fan itself. So that's why it has a very good temperature on H. But for Asia countries, whereby you are living in a hot weather throughout the year, right, I would advise you to mount it A style. Reason being, right, you wouldn't want to have hot air dissipating near to you, especially the case is near to you on your desk. So having to do this, right, yes, it's manageable. Though the VRM, the DDR5, and yeah, these three, it's hotter compared to H, as you can see the temperature. Yes, I know this is quite hot, but VRM is able to manage 60 degree Celsius temperature, not a problem. And looking at the CPU component, the Mumbo and others, right, see, it gain more benefit compared to H. But A and H, right, they are not far off different, as you can see the temperature over here. The only difference is only on the VRM itself. A is a bit hot. Probably I would say if you can place a fan over here, right, on the VRM itself, especially if you're mounting things like the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 AIO that has a VRM fan, that will help. So there we have it. It's either A or H. As mentioned, for hot weather, make sure, not say make sure, it's up to your choice. Go with configuration A, which is style A. If you're in colder country, you can afford to mount it at H style with all the fan allocation over here. And of course, as mentioned, this is my opinion. You can judge yourself by looking at this, which configuration you want to do. Now, let's begin with the vertical mount process. Here are the results, and you can actually take a look on all the readings based on the style itself. Now, on this chart itself, based on all the highlights that I've done, right, the only style that stands out is only style A. If you were to compare style A with the rest of the readings over here, right, you will see that the temperature are not fantastic overall on the motherboard and on the GPU itself. And you can see that even some of them, the CPU went up to 92 degrees Celsius, which is kind of like horrible. Now, as mentioned, my choice is style A, but you can refer to this chart and to configure as and when you want to configure your fan in the case itself. I will explain to you why style A with vertical mount is of advantage. In fact, this is my favorite configuration, vertical mount. Reason being, right, first of all, you need to take note that for graphic card, right, when it dissipates heat, is either to the top. For AIB cards, is either to the top or the bottom. So if you have the graphic card mounted horizontally, some of your warm air, in fact most of the warm air, will be hitting your motherboard, and your motherboard will absorb the heat, so that will produce more heat throughout, and you won't get very good readings. And another thing is that when you do vertical mount with style A, right, the bottom fans itself is pushing the warm air up through all the fins. That's why your GPU, it will be having very good temperature, be it the GPU die or the memory. And on top of it, your side fan is assisting, not only cooling the motherboard area, like your VRMs, your RAMs, your M.2 and such, but it does at the bottom fan over here, right, does push off all the warm air that's going up. As you know that intake through the GPU itself, right, it's pushing the warm air up. The side fan will help to push it away and to dissipate from the side, from the top and to the rear. So that's the reason why it's having very good temperature. Now overall, if you were to take a look at this, right, for vertical mount and horizontal mount, as I've selected A and H for horizontal, for vertical is A. Take a look at the readings compared to the vertical mount style A against the horizontal mount on style H and style A. Look at the readings. You will see that vertical mount will have an advantage, as in like most of the temperature you see here, right, will definitely beat the rest at the top with horizontal mount. So that's the reason why this is actually my favorite configuration, as in like having it vertical mount in the case, and to have this direction as I show you, as I experience. Hope you guys have enjoyed what I've shared with you with the vertical and horizontal mount on the GPU with all the fan arrangement. Something to confess, I never like to mount radiator at the side whereby the hose is at the top and to mount the block to your CPU. Reason being, right, if I were to mount at the side, right, I would prefer the hose to be at the bottom than to reach out to the CPU itself. But by doing that, right, it's causing a lot of tension to the hose. Now, some of you might say that it's okay to have the hose at the top whereby the pump is lower than the radiator hose, but I still wouldn't like that, because there are still air bubbles going through, and sometimes it will just gargle and giving lots of noises. Besides this, right, now I should have been placing this Streamer Plus V2, but the problem is I need to shift around, and I find it's a hassle to fiddle with this cable. That's why I didn't plug it in. But this is also provided by Lian Li. There are two more additional things which is actually an add-on. First, which is the GPU kit, whereby you can mount the GPU this way, which I've not done that. Second thing will be this front mesh. It's actually an add-on, whereby you can mount the front cover mesh in the front, and to place fans, there are two strips provided where you can place fans at the front to draw air in. Now I will be conducting another video regarding about this the test on the front mesh and the GPU mounting kit. With this said, right, I'd like to thank Lian Li to have provided all this equipment for me, like the Evo O11D Evo, the AL V2120, the color HUD, and of course with the additional kit inclusive of the Streamer Plus V2, which I didn't mount in. With this said, for those of you actually new to my channel, if you like my channel, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, see you, goodbye.